بدأت ولا لسه؟ بدأت. Where is this? You said 6? I think I put 7.
Well, I changed it.
Ta'adilu?
Yeah.
You sure? 6?
I fix it.
Like, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم حكيم اللهم اجعل هذه المحاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين أما بعد. This is our 6th class on the book Zaad Al-Mustaqni للإمام الحجاوي رحمه الله تعالى. The book that, or the chapter that we finished last, or some of the uyub, or some of the not so pleasurable things a person may find in their spouse that will give them the option for a contract annulment. Before we talk about the lesson for today, just a quick review over some basic things that we spoke about initially when we first started this class. What is the ruling on a nikah according to the school of Imam Ahmed from the very beginning? What's the ruling on marriage?
It's recommended.
Don't look through your book. Off the top. I mean, if somebody asks you in the street and say, hold up, let me go check my book real fast.
I probably would remember that.
Huh? What's the ruling on marriage? Mustahab. طيب. What are the pillars in marriage? What are they? الشروط في النكاح, or rather في أركان النكاح. What are the arkan? What are the pillars of marriage? Not the shurut, the pillars. What's the difference between a pillar or a pillar versus a condition? What's the difference between the two?
Pillar is something that, a foundation that it must be set upon. Condition is kind of like a stipulation.
A pillar is a foundation that is established upon, and a pillar or a condition is what? A stipulation. Anyone else? Go ahead.
الركن هو الذي لا بد منه لصحة العمل.
طيب ايش الفرق بين الركن والشرط؟ كلاهما سواء بالنسبة لهذا التعريف. يعني what's the difference between a pillar and a condition? They both are the same according to what he just said. And what did you just say? Say it in English because everybody doesn't.
الركن is that which you have to have it in order for the action to be correct.
Okay, then what about a condition? Sure. Huh? What's the difference?
Short, it has to be established before the thing can actually
Ahsant. So both things are required. The pillar is inside of that thing, and a condition is a prerequisite before you can get inside of that thing. And I'm trying to explain it that way so you can understand it. So let's say, for example, all right, I'll give you an example as it relates to the salat. what's a pillar from the salat versus what's a condition. All right? Right now, if I'm in the salat and I raise my hands for takbiratul ihram, is this a condition or a pillar? A pillar. I recite al-Fatiha, condition or pillar? What did we say a pillar was? Something that is part of that thing that we're trying to do. Okay? A pillar is part of that thing, is contained within that thing that we want to do. A condition is what? It's a prerequisite before we do that thing. For example, wudu. I have to make wudu. Is wudu a condition or a pillar? A condition. Well, then, facing the qibla, is that a condition or a pillar? You look confused. Is it a condition or a pillar? Huh? You sure?
Pillar.
I'm thinking of,
You said it's a pillar. So listen, keep that definition in your mind. The definition is what? The rukn huwa mahiyatu shay. Yani, if we're trying to do something, we want to pray. We can't pray unless we fulfill the acts of prayer. Within the acts of prayer, you find the what? The pillars, the rukn. The word rukn and pillar is the same. The Arabic word is rukn. The English word is what? Pillar. So within the act of worship, meaning your salat, inside of that act of worship, we find what? Pillars. We find what? Pillars. In order to perform that act of worship, we must fulfill what? The conditions. Is that clear? Anybody confused on that? You understand? Right. So then, what are some of the pillars in the nikah?
al-wali.
What are you looking at the book? How many are missing? How many is it? Is the what? Is the khutbah tahajjud a pillar? No. The khutbah tahajjud is what? So the ulama, the ulama in the school of Imam Ahmed, they say, "Arkanahu az-zawjani al-khaliyani min al-mawani'." In order for these are called the fi arkan nikah, meaning we need the pillars that will consider something to be a marriage. The thing that we're trying to do is what? Like, for example, if we want to pray, we have to do the acts that will equal prayer. For example, if we want to make the salat, we have to do the things that are part of the salat. Sah? Like, if you want to get married, then you have to do the things that are part of being married. So the first condition is you need a man and a woman. Can there be a marriage without a man and a woman in Islam? No. That's the first one.
So, I hope
We going over the conditions of the pillars.
Right now we're talking about the pillars.
Right.
Did I say the conditions?
Yeah, you said condition.
Stuff the Lord.
So it's okay.
Oh, no.
I just want to make sure.
That's the human side.
So
Right?
it's a pillar.
Yeah, right now we're talking about the pillars. Right now we're talking about the pillars. So let's go back to the example. The prayer. In order to perform the prayer, you need to do the acts within the prayer. Those are called what? Pillars. Like what? For example, al-Fatiha, standing, ruku', raising up from the ruku', going down into sujood. All of these are pillars. Before we can get to the act of worship, we must fulfill what? Conditions. Some of the conditions are making wudu, facing the qibla, the age of bulugh, the age of Islamic puberty, etc., etc. As it relates to marriage, right now, we want to do the act of marriage. So inside of marriage, you need what? The pillars. What are the pillars? You need a man and a woman in order to get married. That's number one. Number two,
hold on, can you say it again? Filuga?
for Luga, Ishan.
You just read it.
Did I?
Talking about the Imam Ahmed's
Yeah.
position on
Oh, so we'll get back to that. That's the text. That's part of the mention. I'll read that in a minute. Right now, I'm just trying to explain it. So the second thing is we need al-ijab. Al-ijab is, for example, a man will say, I married you to sister such and such and such. This is called ijab. This is called an offer, if you will. Right? So a man will say, I married you to sister such and such. This is called ijab. The third one, the third pillar is called qabul, which means acceptance of the offer. These are the conditions. Like, I didn't want to go. We're going to have to do like a real comprehensive review later.
So acceptance is the third one,
Yeah.
meaning she has to accept that offer
Meaning her wali has to accept the offer.
for her.
Oh, I'm sorry. The wali has to offer her and the husband has to accept. It's not so this is the way it works. Make sure that we're clear on this. Before a sister gets married, her wali has to know that she wants to get married. Is that clear? طيب. النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام, he said, لا nikah illa bi wali. There's no marriage unless the sister has a wali.
Not a wakil, correct?
Akhi, we can't. A wakil? What's a wakil?
Because a lot of people that get too confused, they say, well, I had to contact my wakil.
I don't even know what that means. What's a wakil?
The wakil stands in the stead for the wali. The wali is on
Well, it.
So let's clear. You know, I was talking to a brother, and he said to me, he said, you know, sometimes you have to go over the same thing over and over again because you might think that you cover something and that it's clear, but it's not clear. So, real quick rehash on this issue. What is a wakil the way people understand it here?
That's what I was getting ready to say.
I need you to explain that to me, and then I'm going to explain to you what it is versus what it is not.
A lot of people
Are we going
think
based
that
on what you
wakil-
taught us already?
No, not what I taught you, what people here understand.
A lot of people in the Muslim society.
Hold up, do you know what a wakil is? The difference between a wakil and a wali?
No. The
How do you know? How do you know?
I'm going off with Sheikh Muslim al-Bad.
Alright, good, you're probably good. What did Sheikh Musa al-Abad say?
That the wakil can only be appointed by those in authority of the communities. And that the
Nah.
person, and that the individual.
Where'd you read that?
Sheikh Muslim al-Bad, when he was asked in reference to the ones who isn't related to the sister and she could actually be married to.
And who became the wakil?
No. What the Sheikh is saying is like, for instance, let's say here, if y'all was to appoint someone to be in control of the affairs of the system.
If we were to appoint someone,
Based off of the fact, not just anyone, because he refute the fact that it could just be anyone. There's certain qualifications that they must have in order to be.
are we talking about a wakil or a wali?
Okay, no.
That's what I'm asking you. What are you talking? Yeah, wali,
It's
yes.
Not wakil.
Not wakil.
Wali, yeah,
Good.
not wali.
Go ahead.
The wakil will be appointed by the wali. The
We talking about the understanding of the people here first. What's their understanding?
Right.
Because that's why he asked that question. Yes.
That's what I was going to say, that according to the way generally the Muslims learn here, is that a wakil is anyone that's not a family member. Anyone that's not a family member, that is, she either appoints herself or she got appointed from the leader of the community.
All right. Is that what you were saying?
No.
All right. That's a khata.
With conditions.
So more-
Right.
Because Sheikh Muslim brings the conditions that the person must fill. It can't just be like your wife's, the sister has a companion and her husband is willing to be, and her wakil, and then
But
you
that's
just-
how it is
I mean
here.
her wali.
That's how it is here.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how
That's
it
the
is.
general
We have a lot of
way.
men and women in
No.
this Muslim community that think that if a woman doesn't have a wali, a male in her family, that when she goes to the masjid and gets appointed a male to handle her affairs, then that's a wakil.
Like,
But
Yeah, no.
there is no wakil for a woman
there's no wakil. A woman cannot have a wakil for marriage.
at all.
Understand what I'm saying very carefully. A woman cannot have a wakil for marriage.
It's only a wakil.
got security on the door.
Understand, we need security for it. It's good.
Oh, he's joking.
A woman cannot have a wakil for marriage. I'm going to say that again. A woman cannot have a wakil for marriage. So what's the question then? Whoa, brother, what do you mean? The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, La nikah illa bi wali. Wa sultan waliyu man la waliyu lah. Or kama qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, La nikah. He said, La nikah illa bi wali. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, there is no nikah, meaning there is no marriage except that there is a wali. And then the alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentioned, and a sultan, meaning the leadership, becomes the wali for the one that does not have a wali. It says nothing about wakil. Nothing. I don't know where people got that understanding from, but the way it's being used is a khata. It's incorrect. Now,
Is wakil and wali the same thing?
No.
That's what I always thought.
they mean two totally different things. So right now we're going to talk about wakil again. We're going to talk, what is a wakil? An example of a wakil, I'm going to give you a general sense and I'm going to make it specific. Right now, I want a bottle of water. I say, Zaki, I'm going to give you $1. Go to the store and grab me a bottle of water. So when you go to the store and buy the water, are you buying it for yourself? No, who are you buying it for? Me. So you are my wakil. A wakil is a representative of yourself. So somebody's thinking, so, well, hold up, brother. Why can't a sister have a wakil? Because a sister can't marry herself off. She needs a wali. That wali can have a wakil for the wali, but not for the sister.
Say that again.
Listen, a wakil is a representative for someone. An example, I want a bottle of water. I give you $1, you go buy the bottle of water for me and give it back to me. I'm going out of town, I say, Zaki, I need you to handle these business affairs for me when I'm gone. You're like, all right, cool, I'll do it. So you handle whatever I give you the right to handle. You are now my representative. This is called a wakil. Is that clear? Are we clear on the concept of wakil? Tayyib. Now let's talk about wali. A wali is necessary for marriage. Just because a brother is a mahram doesn't make him a wali. That's a whole nother, A wali is a representative, represents a sister for marriage. A wali represents a sister for marriage, not a wakil. A sister doesn't have a wakil. Her wali has a wakil, but that sister does not have a wakil. Is that clear? Let it sink in and ask me about it, because we're going to keep talking about this. I hear it too much. Let's just make sure we understand that. Yes?
What is an example of a wakil for a wali?
Good question. What did he say? He said, what is an example of a wakil for a wali? Is that question clear? What's an example? What's the example of a wakil for a wali? What does that look like? Let's say, for example, you have a daughter. Who are you to your daughter? You're her what?
Wali.
Her wali. You, father, is your daughter's wali, right? Okay, cool. Your daughter, she's interested in marriage to a brother, right? They want to sit down and talk, whatever. You're like, okay, cool. But you know what? I'm going out of town for business. I'll be going for a month. You say, Saeed, I want you to step in for me when I'm going for that month. You are his, Saeed will be your what? Wakil. He's your wakil, not her wakil. He's your wakil. And he's going to stand in your place to marry off your daughter if you don't come back in time. This is how a wakil is a representative of a wali. Is that clear? And this goes back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, La nikah illa bi wali. There's no marriage unless there's a wali. And then the Nabi ﷺ, he said, As-sultan waliyu man la waliyu lah. Or kama qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said the leadership is the wali for the one that doesn't have a what? A wali. Tell you. Next issue. What about here in America? How does that work? So there's a group of ulama. There's a council called the Majma' Fiqh Council. There's a group of ulama from around the world. They come together and they study. They make dirasa ilmiya. They make knowledge-based research on issues as it pertains to the West. They're called mujalladats. They're big books, and you find in them research and stuff that as it pertains to our societies, for example, Europe, America, etc. Before you can even take those rulings and apply them here, you must first understand the origin of the issue. So right now we're talking about these are the rules. The rule is the ruler is the leader, or the ruler is the wali of a sister that doesn't have a wali. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said a woman cannot get married until she has a what? A wali. Now, these things that we just mentioned, these are considered the text, the rules. They're called what? The rules. Understand something. In Islam, Islam is governed by rules and regulations. Islam is governed by rules and regulations. Our religion, walillahil hamd, is not a freestyle religion. And what I mean by freestyle, today I feel like you're off it today. Tomorrow he's off it. Tomorrow, today this is the sunnah. Tomorrow that's not. No, this is the. It doesn't work like that. Our religion is perfect. Walillahil hamd. It has rules and regulations. The Quran and Sunnah. The Quran and Sunnah represents the rules and regulations. Are we clear on that? When we have rules and regulations, the next step is how to implement the rules and regulations. There's guidelines to that as well. It's not just arbitrarily you implement something however way you feel like it. Islam doesn't work that way. Our religion is too perfect for it to be left arbitrarily to anyone to do whatever they want to do. As it relates to the Majma' Fiqh Council, so they look at America and they look at Europe and they say, hey, they don't have Islamic rulers there. What do? So they go back to the books of the Salaf. They go back to what? The books of the earlier scholars of Islam, 2nd generation, 3rd generation, etc. So they're looking at a book like, for example, Al-Masail Imam Ahmed, for example. Masail are issues of Imam Ahmed that he discussed over the past. They'll compile these different Masail in books like Al-Mughni, Sharh Al-Kabir. You might find some of them in a book called Al-Istithqar ibn Abdul Barr or Tamheed and stuff like that. If you're Maliki, right? If you're Shafi'i, then they'll look through books like Al-Majmu' al-Nawawi and stuff like that. They'll go back to these books and they'll look up the same issue, wali, etc. And then you'll find statements from the earlier scholars talking about places where there are no walis for these women. So in this case, now they do something called what? Ijtihad. Ijtihad is when you look at the text, you look at the issue, there's no clear text on it, so the ulama of the past give a verdict. The ulama of the past what? Give a verdict on it. When the scholars of the past give a verdict on something, then you look, what do any of the other scholars say about that? Are there any contrary positions on it? If not, if they are, what are they, etc., etc. Once you look at that, for example, Imam Ahmed, in this particular issue, he says that if a woman does not have a wali, and she does not live in a place where there is authority over her, then she can choose someone she sees to be righteous, upright, to represent her for marriage as her wali. She can choose. This is if she lives in a place where there's no Muslims, no Muslim leadership, etc., etc. She can choose. This is the statement that we find in the books of the Salaf from Imam Ahmed. Now, what the Majma' Fiqh Council did was, they looked at this statement from Imam Ahmed, They looked at the ahadith that are around in that issue and they compiled them together. They said, okay, then, since it's dangerous for a woman to just arbitrarily pick whoever she wants, even though that is an option, right? But it's better for the women in the West to go to the Marrakech Islamiyya, meaning the Islamic centers. And she goes there and have the Islamic centers represent her as her wali. Is that clear? This is why when women, they don't have walis, then they should go to the masajid or the Islamic centers, and the people there that run those places should represent her for marriage. That is, according to many scholars, their obligation in this case. To some scholars, it is their obligation to do that. Now, if a sister is versed enough, she may say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable. This is also a reality. She may say, I don't feel comfortable with this Islamic center. I've been there, I don't think they're going to represent my needs. There's 3 Islamic centers in the town that she lives in. This is real life. Every place is not like Philadelphia, where you have a plethora of masajid. She might live in a town where there are no masajid, except for 2. And those 2 places, she knows when she goes there, these brothers, they're too easy. These brothers over here, she's not comfortable. And what I mean by comfortable, meaning she doesn't feel as though they will represent her best interests as it relates to her getting married. In this case, then some of them will tell her, then you choose someone you think will fulfill that obligation. But at the end of the day, under no circumstances do they, unless, we're not going to talk about that, because there are also other situations, but in general, in a case like this, then she would be able to pick someone that she feels will represent her. Well, I know I went on a tangent. I know it was long-winded, but I just want to make sure that's clear. Like, having said that, can we get on the lesson for the day? Like, the lesson for today, inshallah, Bab Nikah Al-Kuffar min Ahlul Kitab wa Ghayrihim. So, now we're going to talk about, we're getting back to marriage again. Today's chapter is marrying non-Muslims, or marriage of the non-Muslims, from the people of the book and other than them, marriage of them. I know there's going to be some questions. That's why the brothers are right here to take those questions, inshallah, as they come. Fight. So, I'm going to give a quick overview of a section, and then we're going to read from the text. Khalas? Like, in Islam, in general, Islam recognizes the marriage of non-Muslims. So first, when we first start this, I need you to follow along with me and understand what are we talking about, right? As the ulama say, al-hukm ala shay far'un an tasawwurihi. Al-hukm ala shay far'un an tasawwurihi. Meaning, in order to give a legislative ruling on something, you have to be able to what? See it. Right? You have to be able to visualize what's taking place. You can't just say halal, haram, and you don't know what you're talking about. You don't even know what's going on. So right now I'm going to give you the tasawwur. I'm going to give you the picture. What's going on? Right now, when we go through this text, and you might say, well, why are we covering this? I think it's important to cover this for several reasons. Number one, it shows the diversity of Islam. It shows that Islam recognizes other faiths as we go along and continue this. It also shows that Islam is extremely comprehensive, very detailed. So here, in this section here, if a non-Muslim, so right now, here's the tasawwur. The picture is, we're in an Islamic society or underneath an Islamic rule with regards to marriage, etc. Right? do we as Muslims recognize the marriages of non-Muslims? If two non-Muslims walked in here, a man and a woman, they're married, and they come to you and they want you to recognize their marriage. Do you, as Muslims, do we recognize their marriage in Islam?
Yes.
Yes. Based on what? It's based on two conditions. Islam recognizes the marriage of non-Muslims based on two conditions. Does anyone know what those conditions are?
Based on the rulings of that land or that area.
Based on the rulings of that area? No.
When you say non-Muslim, are you talking in general or specifically the people of the book?
Right now we're talking about non-Muslims. People that are not Muslim.
So they can be mushriks, they can be...
People that are non-Muslims. The chapter is marriage of the non-Muslims from Ahlul Kitab and other than them. So marriage of the non-Muslims meaning the Jews and the Christians and other than them.
How do we look at these shirk?
We're not talking about this shirk right
No,
now.
not in general. I'm saying during the ceremony.
We didn't get that far yet. The question is, we recognize their marriage based on two conditions. What do you think they are?
I don't know both of them, Ali, but I believe one of them may be the condition that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he recognized and acknowledged the marriages of the people of his society who are non-Muslim.
Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he did that based on two conditions. What are those two conditions?
They both were upon the same faith.
La.
The level of the way they practice their faith? Nope.
Maybe, but we're going to get to that. One more. What do you think? Huh?
One was a male, one was a female.
Well, yeah, well, but that wasn't one of the conditions.
President Wali.
President of all. All right, listen. So the conditions are this. The first part, so the ulama, they say what? Now, mind you, this is the school of what? Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So if any brother here is Maliki, you might say, oh, Imam Malik holds a little slightly different position. That's fine, that bets. No problem. Huh? We're just going over Imam Ahmad's position here, right? So it says, حُكْمُهُ كَالنِّكَاحِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. The first thing they mention is, the ruling of non-Muslims getting married take the same ruling as it relates to Muslims being married. What does that mean? For example, in terms of its correctness. So, the ruling of non-Muslims getting married is acceptable in Islam, meaning among themselves, as long as certain things are met. For example, as long as their marriage, wuqu' talaq, for example, in terms of them getting divorced, in terms of them having to pay the dowry, etc., etc., Islam affirms that for them, right? However, Islam recognizes their non-Islamic marriage based on two conditions. Number one, that the two married parties believe that the way they were married is correct within their own religion. Pay attention to this. This is very important. Islam recognizes their marriage as long as their marriage is recognized in their own religion. For example, let's use Christianity for example, right? What the heck, I don't even know. Let's say, for example, in a religion, let's say any religion. But in this religion, they say it's impermissible in their religion for a brother and a sister to be married to each other. But they come to us as Muslims, and that's incorrect in their religion. If it's incorrect in their religion, but they say they're married, we don't recognize it. Because they violated their own religion with regards to their marriage. Does that make sense? So then, if they violated any of the tenets of their own faith, even though they recognize themselves to be married, we don't recognize their marriage because they didn't respect their own religion and follow their own religious practice. That's number one. Number two, The second condition is that Islam recognizes their marriage as long as they do not come to us to rule in their affair. As long as they do not come to us to rule in their affair. What does that mean? What do you mean rule in their affair? Let's say, for example, they want marital counseling. Right? They said, man, we hear they do good marital counseling over there. So the man and his wife, they're not Muslim, they come down and say, look, we want y'all to give us some counseling. Well, we can't give you no counseling because, we didn't know. In this case, you can't give them counseling because they're already married. So somebody might say, well, what's the benefit of covering this? I had a conversation with a brother about this the other day. One of the benefits of talking about this subject is because a lot of people think that Islam does not recognize other religions, except this right here shows diversity. It shows that Islam takes into consideration other religious practices. This shows that Islam is not saying y'all can't practice your religion. Islam must rule over all y'all. This right here is fifth. This shows that there were societies that people who were Muslim lived there and people who are what? Non-Muslim lived there, and they coexisted. Not only did they coexist, but they went back to the Muslims sometimes to get aid and assistance in their own religious affairs in terms of their marriage. Is that clear? Tell you. So then, as long as they do not, so Islam recognizes their marriage, as long as they do not, what? As long as they follow the tenets of their own faith, and they do not come to us to rule in their affair. Are we clear on that? Right. The next part. فَإِنْ أَتَوْنَا قَبْلَ عَقْدِهِ. Now this one is going to strike some of y'all kind of strange. Let's say, for example, two non-Muslims walked in the door and they said, we want to get married. We want y'all to marry us. Can Muslims marry non-Muslims? Meaning, can a Muslim marry two non-Muslims together? Yes, no, maybe so? Let. You said let. Good. He got the look on his face like, I ain't going to answer that one. Huh? Can a Muslim marry two non-Muslims together?
I mean, I would say no, but I'm saying no without knowing why not.
I would say no based on what you just said. They don't come to us to judge their affairs.
That's if they're already married.
Oh, you talk.
We're talking about two non-Muslims. They walk in here right now and they say, Sheikh Yasser, I want you to marry us.
If it's based on the two conditions, then it would be.
No,
That's for when they marry.
that's when they marry. We're talking about the people that are not married yet. They walking off the street and they want the Muslim. They're like, look, we don't want to be Muslim.
I get what he's saying.
We just like the Muslims and we respect the Muslims and we want y'all to marry us. Can a Muslim do that?
I read Sheikh Al-Islam. Sheikh Al-Islam in this affair, if I'm not mistaken, was explaining. That's why I was asking. It's something. I remember something about the shirt that the non-Muslims partake in. If they are, in other words, like when Khadijah took the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to her cousin, he was from the people of the book, but it was correct. His belief, his aqidah in that was correct. He didn't do no shirk and none of that. So if the people is upon the...
So during the time when Khadijah took the Prophet ﷺ to her uncle, did they pronounce Islam during that time? Was Islam relevant for everybody, like to become Muslim, to take Shahada?
No, it wasn't.
So the Risala, so it didn't come all the way then, right? All right, so the question, let's go back to because I don't want to lose track of this. If two non-Muslims walked in the door and said, we like y'all Muslims, we want y'all to marry us, can we marry them?
It's a yes or no question, right?
Yes.
I would say
It's yes or no, Sheikh.
I would say no.
I just want to make a comment. This does need to be covered in response to what the other brother was saying because this could happen. That's all.
Okay.
I would say no.
Cool.
Because we would have to marry them according to their religion, and we're Muslim.
So you said we would have to marry them according to their religion, and we're Muslim. So based on that answer, the answer would be what?
No.
No, right?
I would say no
You would say no. You would say?
I say nah.
You say nam or no?
I say yes.
Why? Just to be different.
No.
Why would you say yes?
Because upon marriage, if they're not trying to get any falsified, Jesus and all that, if they don't have, we know we can't marry them according to Islam because they're not Muslim, and that action wouldn't be for them.
You can't marry them according to religion because.
But no, he said. But what if they? See, we thinking of maybe I'm misunderstanding. When you say kuffar, I'm not thinking of just those that's committing the shirk and all that. Because you have those
It's
that.
kuffar that don't commit shirk.
No. See, it goes back to what I said in reference to. Never mind, you answered it. Because during the time of Revelation wasn't all the way through. I'm stuck on that.
So then, what's the answer?
Yeah, no. It's no.
So you say no.
No.
All right, good. So, all right,
Yeah,
no. All right. So let's.
I was gonna say, yeah, somebody said no because we can't even take them as friends.
You can't take them as friends. Who said that? No. Whoever said.
We can't even take them as friends.
Who said you can't take them as friends?
Someone is asking if we can't even take
Who said you can't take non-Muslims as friends? It's permissible for a Muslim.
protectors, helpers.
It's permissible for a Muslim man to marry a non-Muslim woman. Marry. They're a little more than friends.
But there are conditions for that.
They are, but it is what it is. Still a non-Muslim. All right. Slow down. Shwaya. All right. So the next part. فَإِنْ أَتَوْنَا قَبْلَ عَقْدِهِ. If non-Muslims come in his door before they get married, and they want us to marry them, أَقَدْنَاهُ عَلَى حُكْمِنَا. Then we can marry them to each other according to our rules in Islam. What we mean by our rules in Islam, there must be a wali, there must be mahar, everything has to be, there can't be the brother, sister, etc., etc. This also shows the diversity of Islam. That even though they're not Muslim, and we have a hadith, I guess when we get to that, a hadith al-ahkam, that talk about people coming to the Muslims to have the Muslims ruling their affair. The Jews and the Christians coming to the Muslims and want the Muslims to rule between their marriages. So, like I said, the benefit of this is just to show the diversity of Islam. Yes?
I guess the only thing I'm not understanding is within a marriage, it's certain tenets and certain rules set forth by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If they don't believe in that, how can they? Because
they will get married based on what we establish for them to get. For example, the conditions have to be met. The conditions, the pillars, everything that we have for the Muslims to get married, they must have. It's not, they don't have to pronounce the shahada in their marriage, do they? All right.
So they'll be married to us, but they won't be married according to
Islam supersedes them. So if they come to us for marriage, that means they respect Islamic marriage more than their own.
Yeah, but when they die,
That's a whole nother subject. We're not talking about that. Right now we're talking one shay'in for shay'in. Yes.
We were respected according to our religion, but then again, it goes against the first condition that it has to be met. You said the first condition was that
But that's
their
when they're already
religion.
married, though.
I gave you two scenarios. The first scenario is we recognize the marriage of non-Muslims that are already married if two conditions are met. Number one, that they got married according to the belief of their own religion. And number two is that they do not come to us to rule in their affair. That's one issue. Put that to the side.
I understand the two separate issues.
You talk about earlier.
I understand the two separate issues. But what I'm saying is, what other religion coincides with Islam for the rules of marriage?
None.
So that means they wouldn't be following the rules of their religion.
But they not
The-
married yet.
Hope.
That's the
Hope. So the first issue is they're already married. The second issue, they want to get married, but they're not married yet, and they come to us. Can we marry them? Yes or no?
They're not under any aqd yet.
They're not married yet. Did that make sense?
Yes. So that would mean we will also, if we can marry them together under that condition, that will also mean that we will have to rule for them if they have.
Yes. But we will rule for them based on what? Based on hukmina, based on our rules. Understand?
Getting married under
Real quick,
Islamic.
Ali, so in reference to the non-Muslim, their deeds and stuff.
We're not getting into that right now. That's a whole nother. We mean their deeds.
Like, we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says nothing they do has weight on the day Yom Qiyam. So like if they get married according to us.
So right, okay. Here's the thing. Because now, listen. If we talking about their deeds and whether their deeds get accepted, they're not Muslim.
No. I'm talking about the deed of marriage. That one deed that they do. Like the deed that they do. Which
So to us as Muslims, our marriage is ibadah.
Nah.
For them, Allah knows best how they view their marriage. But if they want to get married, as this is a social function that society goes by on a day-to-day, if they want to come to us, then they have to be done according to our rules. That's it. Right? We're not going to... Every non-Muslim has their own aqidah and all that associated with them. We're not getting into that. We're just getting into their social function of being married. Okay? Remember, let's go back to the beginning. I said you have to have tasawwur. The tasawwur here is they're underneath Islam rules. Islam is prevalent. And they come to the Muslims for marriage. Right? So they wanted... Yes?
Ali, I just have a simple question. Let's say in the event that two people come in and they're not Jew or Christian, they're agnostic. They acknowledge a God. They don't have a particular religion, so-called organized religion. Do we still, but if they say that they are married, because
That's my jayyid. Pay very careful attention. I didn't say anything about Christian, Jews. I said non-Muslims, mutlaq, and yani, that's am the jamiyah. That's for all of them. We didn't make any exceptions to the rule. The rule is all non-Muslims. This is the rule. All non-Muslims, this is the rule. So we mentioned how many categories? 2, right? 2 categories. That makes sense? Like, and then the thing is, before I said, do we introduce this? Yes or no? But I think it's mufid. I think it's benefit to it. Right? So the next one. وَإِنْ أَتَوْنَا بَعْدَهُ. So the next one, issue is, وَإِنْ أَتَوْنَا بَعْدَهُ. If they came to us after their marriage. Or, if they came to us after their marriage, or aslama zawjani, or they both become Muslim at the same time. Wal mar'atu tubahu idan uqirra. If they both become Muslim at the same time. Let's say, for example, 2 non-Muslims walk in the door and they say, you know what, we're going to take our shahada right now at the same time. Right? And it's halal in our religion for them to be married to that particular woman, then we accept that.
They don't have to get remarried.
No, they don't have to get remarried.
They already married when they come.
Yes.
Can you repeat that?
All right. If it's 2 non-Muslims and they accept Islam, they don't have to get remarried again.
So if they're already married.
If they're already married,
Clean Islam.
yes, and they come into Islam together, then Islam recognizes that marriage. They don't have to get married again. That's in a nutshell.
What's that called? What'd you say?
Aslama zawjani ma'an. Aslama zawjani ma'an. If they both come into the masjid and they both accept Islam and we realize that he cannot be married to her for whatever reason. For whatever reason, in Islam, it's impermissible for them two to be married. Right? If you recall, we went over muharramat fi nikah. Let's say, for example, he has 2 wives and he married 2 sisters. For example, he's married to 2 sisters at the same time. All right? Or an aunt and a niece at the same time. Or et cetera, et cetera. All right? In this case, we look, it says, وَإِنْ كَانَتْ مِمَّا لَا يَجُوزُ ابْتِدَاءُ نِكَاحِهَا فُرِّقَ بَيْنَهُمَا. Then we will separate between them. We will what? Separate between them. Mind you, this is all people who come to us, what? For their rule. The next one, I'm gonna skip the next other one. Right. The next issue is وَمَتَى كَانَ مَهْرُ صَحِيحًا أَخَذَتْهُ. Let's say, for example, when they both accept Islam, it says وَمَتَى كَانَ مَهْرُ صَحِيحًا أَخَذَتْهُ. When they accept Islam, we know in our religion that the sister or the woman has to have what? A dowry or a mahar. She has to be paid or mahar. So it says, when kana al-mahru sahihan akhadathu. If the mahar is sahih, then she takes it. Meaning, we accept that, if the mahar. So let's say, for example, he gave her some, we have a whole next chapter that talks about the dowry. But let's say, for example, he gave her some pork rinds with dowry. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
understand.
some pork rinds or something, right? It's unacceptable for dowry because the item itself is haram, right?
This is,
Before Islam,
yeah, the marriage.
right? The marriage are there. So then, وَإِنْ كَانَ فَاسِدًا قَبَضَتْهُ اسْتَقَرَّ. All right. If the mahar was fasid, meaning it wasn't good, وَقَبَضَتْهُ اسْتَقَرَّ, but she still took it back then, they say, khalas, this will suffice. Even though it was haram back then, but it was already taken, it will suffice. The next one, it says, وَإِن لَمْ تَقْبِضْهُ. Let's say they got married, but he didn't give her any mahar. Mind you, we're talking about two people that what? Accepted Islam. He got married to her before, when they were non-Muslim, right? وَإِن لَمْ تَقْبِضْهُ. But she did not get the dowry. وَلَمْ يُسَمَّ فُرِضَ لَهَا مَهْرُ الْمِثْلِ. And she didn't say something that she wanted, then at this point in time, she is required to get dowry. Her dowry would be what? Does anyone know? Let's say, for example, understand the issue. The issue is two non-Muslims accepted Islam at the same time, right? Or when we find out that she didn't get her dowry, or what have you. She never asked for a dowry, he never mentioned a dowry, but she is required to have a dowry. So in this case, what would her dowry be? A ring?
Would it be whatever is generally the dowry in their religion?
No. You close but no cigar.
Is this معطوف
معطوف على ماذا؟
على الجملة السابقة؟
لا.
Because you said
مسألة ثانية.
Because we don't have a certain thing.
Huh?
We don't have a certain thing that has to be a dowry.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was thinking. Like a ring.
So in this case, if the mahar is not mentioned, then there's something called al-mahrul mithal. Al-mahrul mithal, it means she would get whatever women in her category or in her family would get. This is called mahrul mithal. We're going to cover that in the next chapter, inshallah, about sadaq. And what that means is, let's say, for example, in this city, when women get married, they usually get what?
Overgarment.
A pack of gum? Stuff for the lot.
Overgarment.
An overgarment. A book. Right? $400? $500? Is that the usual? No. What? You're going to save that conversation for next week.
Yeah, no, it's general.
A book. A book or over. If that's the general,
Yes.
people going to be mad next week.
Couple overgarments, couple books.
But let's say it's a
We ain't trying to be smart.
no. Let's say it's a book or overgarment. So whatever that is valued as, that is mahrul mithal, meaning that would be what she would get for her dowry. Yes.
Sorry. Going back a little bit. Two non-Muslims that come in want to get married. And, you know, as far as them going through the
Oh, the first part. Go ahead.
accepting the rules of being married as the way that we marry, who would be the wali of the woman?
If what?
Two non-Muslims walk in and say they want to get married.
So somebody who's going to represent her affairs. It's going to be according to us, though. We're going to, so perhaps we would appoint someone. Perhaps, from that standpoint, we will probably appoint someone in a situation like that.
Because if they're non-Muslim getting married by us, could her father be her wali?
Aha, can her father be her wali?
Who also
Shit.
is a non-Muslim?
Shit. Allah. I don't know. That's a good question. Hold that. We're going to research that. Write that down, inshallah. Now, that's a good question. Can her father be the wali since he's not? Let's go back to that. Can her father be the wali if she's, because in this case, they're not Muslim. Allahu Alam. But let's go back to the sister that comes to the masjid and wants the masjid to represent her for marriage. And she has a father. Her father should be included in that process. That's just on the sidebar.
Even if he's not Muslim.
Even if he's not Muslim?
He still love her.
Oh, even if he's not Muslim. What do you think about that?
She's his baby.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Because that's, what do you think about that?
Can't say his daughter.
No. I mean, right, listen, we have open dialogue. What do you think about it?
Like, isn't it like levels of wilaya?
So are we talking about wilaya? What are we talking about here? We didn't say the father was going to be her wali. We said her father should be involved in the process.
I agree to that.
Oh, okay. I mean, look. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. This is what happens when we become Muslims. Sometimes we forget that 90% of our community accepted Islam. We had families before we became Muslim, right? Daughters accept Islam. They had fathers that loved them, that care about them, uncles that raised them, men, and all women don't have men in their lives, but some of these women had men in their lives, family members, right? You just totally neglect them when they become Muslim? A lot. Because what that's going to do is that's going to cause a rift between her and her family. It's already bad enough that she took Shahada. They flaming about that. Now she got to walk around with an overgarment on all the time. They think you made her do that. So now they mad at you. Then when you want to get married to her, you want to box them all the way out. They really not going to have no love for you. And that's going to make her situation even worse. So from wisdom as men, you need to reach out to their fathers. Talk to them. Explain to their uncles, their brothers, etc. Talk to them. Get them to understand what it is. Let them be involved in the process. That way, at least if they don't agree, but at least they're like, well, Dad, they still kept me in the loop, though. Right? They still kept them in the loop. And what that does, that still keeps the family ties. Now.
That's why you have a situation, right, when the person, when the law called post and sold, that's why the family come back and snatch, like, oh, we ain't respecting that.
Yeah, that could be the case.
That's why they snatch you back, because they couldn't see the child.
Well, yeah, in certain places. They make them feel even if they let them go, they make them feel uncomfortable.
We ain't worried about that. We ain't worried about the time. Definitely.
Like, huh?
Let's say it's a non-Muslim couple and their marriage is recognized according to Islam. Is the woman, if the man doesn't want to take his shahada and the woman wants to, is she prevented from taking her shahada?
La abadan. We're going to talk about that. We didn't get that part yet. Right. So let's say, for example, we have a man and a woman accept Islam, right? Or let's say, for example, a sister accepts Islam and her husband doesn't. A sister accepts Islam and her husband doesn't. In this case, she has an iddah. Once her iddah is over, that's it. She's separated from that spouse. She has an iddah. Two non-Muslim people that are married. The woman accepts Islam. Huh? The woman accepts Islam. She's an iddah. As long as her husband is not Muslim, she's an iddah. What do you mean how long? The same iddah process for any other woman that would be an iddah, yes. Oh, we're talking about two people that are married. Two people that are non-Muslim. Listen to the issue. two non-Muslims. The sister, the wife, the woman, she accepts Islam, takes her shahada. What does that leave her husband? She can be married to him?
No, but I was taught, and I'm not saying it's right.
What were you taught?
I was taught that if a woman accepts this land, if a woman accepts this land, and the husband don't, that one, the community or the, I'm just telling you.
No, I'm listening.
That we was taught that the woman, I mean people go to the man and try to bring him to Islam, give him dowry. That's what we was taught. They would give him dowry, and they had like a time period for that. That's what we was taught.
Sure.
I'm not saying
Listen,
proof for it.
listen, that's from wisdom.
Right.
But once she becomes Muslim, that's it.
This happened a lot back in the day.
It happens now.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It
But what I'm saying is, for those people that saying they have a time period, what's the time period?
It didn't have a time period. It was like,
I mean, but
they made it seem like
listen.
about 6
So
months.
here's the thing. Right now, what we're talking about is text.
Right. I'm with you.
Everything that we cover in text may not be practical meaning. Let me rephrase that. Everything that we cover in text, it may not be the reality of what happens on the ground. Right now, a sister may take shahada. She takes shahada. She realizes, or maybe she doesn't know, that she can't be married to her husband anymore. They got kids, they live in the same house. It's going to be a problem, right? Now, that situation, honestly, that requires some sensitivity, no doubt. It definitely requires some sensitivity, but it doesn't take away from the fact that she would be an iddah. Meaning, it's not permissible for her. Now, if she still continues to be married to that person while she's in that state,
Then he rolls out.
so
Can you finish your point though?
I kind of lost my point, man. Hold
If she
on.
continues in that state, you see,
If she continues in that, there has to be some sensitivity there. There has to be some sensitivity there. If she takes shahada and the husband does not, there has to be some sensitivity when it comes to separating between them. But she's still in the state of iddah. She's still going to be in iddah.
Can you go into some of the hikmah behind that though?
Thinking behind what?
Like how she immediately goes into iddah once she...
It's not permissible for a non-Muslim woman to be married to it's not permissible for a Muslim woman to be married to a non-Muslim man. Period. Some of the wisdom that could be derived is that if they have children, what are their children going to be raised on? What are their children going to be raised on? Are they raised on Islam or raised on other than Islam?
If it's a strong man, then
That's
he's
kind of what I was
gonna
thinking,
follow
but I
the
just
husband.
wanted to
Right.
obey the
He's
husband.
gonna have to follow the husband.
Yeah. So then that's the issue. Yes.
You got a situation with the husband and wife is married, and they accept Islam, they gotta get remarried in Islam.
We just come right.
On the street.
Canada, you man.
Work, my brother, I work, my man.
Yeah.
I have a Muslim man marries a non-Muslim woman. Is he allowed to marry 4 non-Muslim women?
Okay. Well.
It's a question type shit?
No. But listen. So at any event, we're gonna cut the class right here. And the reason is because there are some other issues that are tied to this that we're gonna have to cover next week, inshallah. Also, I just got a message from someone who said that when we were talking online, when we mentioned about the dowry for the women, what did I say? Somebody may have been offended by something I said. I apologize. If I said something that offended any sisters, I apologize. I'm not sure exactly what did I say?
A piece of gum.
A piece of gum? That was a joke. So if I said, you know, people were offended by that, I apologize. Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, no, I got that.
Any other questions? Right. So next week, inshallah, we'll try to finish up this part, and then we'll go into the dowry. The dowry, how much it should be versus how much it is. And the reason why it's important because a lot of times people are misinformed, right? Misinformed. For example, even when a brother mentioned women or sisters get married for a book or an overgarment or something like that. I'm not saying that's bad, right? But as some of the scholars mentioned, that the women should ask for more. They should ask for a lot more. And partly because this will possibly prevent the number of divorces. This is just in general. It will prevent the number of divorces. Huh?
There's two sides to that
Nah.
coin.
There's two sides to what coin?
To that coin.
Go ahead. No.
We'll give it back.
Yeah, no, not even
Go
just
ahead.
that. I just think that sometimes it's circumstantial. Like sometimes
Right,
you gotta
we
keep in mind, like they
come
don't want
from a poor
to. It's one thing if you know that that brother's in that position
Right.
or what have you, but sometimes they just being understand. Maybe they know that brother and they know his position.
Sheikh Suleiman Ruhaili said, be patient until you have enough to give them that which one is.
I mean, I'll say this.
But that's-
I'll say this.
That's if you
I'm
get
not, I'm
When
not
it-
refuting what
Hold,
you said,
hold,
but I'm
hold,
just saying
hold.
it's like
I'll say this. When it comes to
this
dowry,
country, everybody
people
get rich.
people spend money on what they want to spend money on. That's everybody. If you see something to be valuable enough, you're going to save up and spend money on it. Everybody. Whether you from the wealthiest of Muslims or the poorest of the Muslims. We got poor Muslims walking around with Jordans on. Right now, it's poor Muslims, they got $300 shoes on their feet. Right?
So my question would be, when you say a lot more, what's a lot more? Because what's to say that
It's
dowry
relative.
wasn't that? Exactly. So it's relative. So
That's
what's
what
to
he's
say
saying.
that dowry wasn't that?
What do you mean that
Because
wasn't?
if you say they walk around with some Jordans, so if we, how are you weighing that? Because really Jordans don't cost nothing.
Well,
It costs $300.
wait. I'm gonna tell you, listen. Look.
There's levels to it.
But let me explain something to you, Sheikh. This is where the wali comes in. See? If somebody wanted to marry your daughter and they're like, yo, I give you $200, you gonna go for that?
Absolutely.
Would you? Yeah.
It depends on the circumstantial. Again, I
In
said-
general, we're not talking about in general.
To me, you can't just generalize that because it depends on the situation. I can't.
Daughter not
I
marry
can't-
nobody in that situation.
Hold up, but see, at the end of the day.
Okay,
right?
that's you, brother. Right?
Your dowry,
Okay,
listen,
so
listen, listen.
Hold on.
Your dowry has a lot to do with the sister asking for a khula. If the sister asks for a khula, she has to give back what you gave her. So if you give a sister 5,000, just for the sake of the conversation, and you may have took a year to save it, for the sake of the conversation, how often do you think she's gonna have that 5,000 to just give you at once?
So look, we're gonna continue this conversation next week, inshallah. I didn't know it was gonna go down a rabbit hole.
You know,
Huh?
It's two sides to it,
Yeah, no.
and I'm feeling both sides.
And that's all I say.
I mean,
If you're
so
married, it's different circumstances.
Give a high one so your
different
wife won't
sides,
just ask for a
different-
khula.
You got your daughter getting married, and it's a lot of sisters.
And
And he ain't got your $2,000.
And
Hey, bro, you go out there having sex. Because that's what you're gonna do.
If you're married legally,
huh?
if you're married legally, like to your state, to your state, anything, you need a divorce to get married.
Look,
You giving us something you already gotta give them.
right. So we're gonna close out with that, inshallah. Next week we'll talk about that issue in more detail. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Real quick, a sister asked a question. Do this center take on the affairs of women? Yes, we do. We have The brother just got up and walked out. But we do have brothers here that do take on the affairs of some of the sisters.
As a wali, not a wali.
As a wali, yes. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
I think it just should be a balance. That's where Wali
I
comes
agree.
from.
And I know the things of I just wanted to say, I don't know the fact that someone would wait till Christ. No one should be offended by the statement.